New Year's Eve, Numbers by the Year, the 3-episode series analyzing traditions, customs, and statistics 1 year at a time. Hello everybody, I am Brian Mullins the Fox, your delightful host. Welcome to New Year's Eve, Numbers by the Year 2000 to 2022. Let's start with customs like the amount of confetti used for New Year's Eve for every single year, on average, according to Wikipedia. At least 3,000 pounds or 1,400 kilograms of confetti is dropped in Times Square, directed by Treb Heining, who has been well known for his involvement in designing balloon decorations for Disney parks, and balloon and confetti drops at other major U.S. events and celebrations, such as the presidential nominating conventions, and thrown by a team of 100 volunteers, referred to internally as confetti dispersal engineers, lining the rooftops of 8 Times Square buildings at 11:59:40 p.m. The individual pieces of confetti are meant to be larger than normal confetti in order to achieve an appropriate density for the environment. Some of the pieces are inscribed with messages of hope for the new year, which are submitted via a wishing wall put up in Times Square in December, where visitors can write them directly on individual pieces of confetti and via online submissions. Cleanup. After the conclusion of the festivities and the dispersal of attendees, cleanup is performed overnight to remove confetti and other debris from Times Square. When it is reopened to the public the following morning, few traces of the previous night's celebration remain. Following the 2013-14 drop, the New York City Department of Sanitation estimated that it had cleaned up over 50 tons of refuse from Times Square in 8 hours, using 190 workers from their own crews and the Times Square Alliance. Let's talk about food traditions now when it comes to New Year's Eve. In a History.com article written and published by Leslie Kennedy on December 21st, 2020, and updated just a day later,
champagne, noisemakers, and confetti are all New Year's Eve staples. But, in some parts of the country and the world, so are black-eyed peas, lentils, grapes, and pickled herring. Hailing from the low country of South Carolina to Japanese noodle houses to Pennsylvania Dutch homes, these are 7 lucky dishes traditionally eaten around the new year to bring good fortune. Hoppin' John. This southern menu staple, usually a mix of black-eyed peas, rice and pork, originated with enslaved Africans in the United States in the 19th century, most notably in the South Carolina Low Country. The dish was likely linked to New Year's celebrations because enslaved Africans prepared and ate it during a period when they had some rare time off from harvesting and planting. The dish may have developed into a good-luck meal, according to the Washington Post. The first known time the Hoppin' John name appeared in print, according to the New York Times, was in the novel Recollections of a Southern Matron in 1838. Often served with collard greens and cornbread, some food historians attribute the dish's unusual name to a take on pois pigeons, French for dried peas and pronounced Poppy John, which may have sounded like Hoppin' John to English speakers. Some correlate the black-eyed peas shape to coins. Other traditions include eating 12 peas on New Year's, 1 for each month, for good luck, while the greens signify money and cornbread stands for gold. Louisianans and Mardi Gras fans know to start their year off with a sweet ringed king cake topped with colorful icing and sprinkles and baked with a trinket, such as a plastic baby, hidden inside. The lucky person who finds the trinket is named king or queen for the day. Bakeries in New Orleans and throughout the nation start selling the treats in early January through Fat Tuesday. They traditionally are eaten on January 6th, known as Twelfth Night or Epiphany, the Catholic celebration of the Magi's gifts to baby Jesus on the 12th night after his birth. According to NPR, simple oval cakes eaten on Twelfth Night date back to Old World Europe, and the tradition was eventually brought to America. In late 19th century New Orleans, revelers began hiding a bean in the cake during Mardi Gras balls. In the 1940s, commercial bakeries began producing king cakes en masse, and upgraded from beans, pecans or rings baked inside to porcelain dolls and eventually the plastic babies still used today. Similarly, the Vassila pita, served in Greece and Cyprus, often is baked with a coin inside and is served New Year's Day. Other versions can be found in Spain and Latin American countries, Rosca de Reyes, Portugal, Bola Rie, and France, Gâteau de Roi. Tamales, those bundles of masa stuffed with meat, wrapped in corn husks and steamed, have come to symbolize family, as generations often gather in the kitchen to make the labor-intensive food that will be eaten all holiday season and year-round. In Mexico, that spans from December 12th, the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, to January 6th, Three Kings Day, Tamales Day, to 8000 to 5000 BC, and Mesoamerican cultures including the Mayans and Aztecs, and, according to the New York Times, they arrived in U.S. points of entry, such as Los Angeles and San Antonio, and were sold by street vendors in the 1870s. Migrant Mexican workers helped the dish spread to other areas of the country. Soba noodles, ringing in the year with Toshikoshi soba, a soup with buckwheat year-crossing noodles, is a New Year's Eve tradition in Japan steeped in tradition and now practiced in the United States. According to the Japan Times, Toshikoshi means to climb or jump from the old year to the new. The long, thin noodles symbolize a long, healthy life, and date back to the 13th or 14th century, when either a temple or a wealthy lord decided to treat the hungry populace to soba noodles on the last day of the year. 12 lucky grapes bottles of champagne are popped the world over on New Year's Eve, but for some, it's all about eating grapes. The Spanish tradition Las Dos Uvas de la Suerte, aka the 12 lucky grapes, holds that eating 12 grapes at the stroke of midnight 01 for each chime of the clock it will bring good luck in the coming year. Each grape signifies 1 month, and, according to the superstition, failing to finish all 12 in time will mean misfortune in the year to come. NPR dates the customs start in the 1880s, with newspapers reporting Madrid bourgeoisie swiping grape and champagne traditions from the French. Lentils. Italian New Year's Eve feasts can mean multiple courses served over several hours. One dish in the massive spread said to bring especially good luck. Lentils, round and shaped like a coin, they're a symbol of prosperity, and are often served with pork sausage. Pork and pigs are also seen as lucky, a staple since ancient times. The legume has been traced to 8000 BC in northern Syria, and was brought to America in the 16th century by the Portuguese and Spanish. Pickled herring fish, symbolic of fertility, long life and bounty, plus the color silver represents fortune, is a popular New Year's Eve dish in many cultures, and especially so for those of Scandinavian, German and Polish descent. Pickled herring, a small oily fish, is often served at New Year's Eve smorgasbords. Herring has been a standard Scandinavian, Dutch and Northern European dish since the Middle Ages, due in part to its abundancia which it has become symbolic of, making it a popular, lucky New Year tradition. It's especially carried on in the U.S. and states such as Minnesota, Wisconsin and Iowa, which have large Norwegian populations. Pork and sauerkraut. While Southerners may dig into Ha and John, those in parts of Pennsylvania and Ohio savor slow-cooked pork and sauerkraut on New Year's Day. The dish is said to bring good luck and progress because pigs are known to root forward, or move ahead, while sauerkraut is made with cabbage, which is tied to symbolic riches and prosperity and a long life thanks to its long strands. The Germanic tradition was brought to America by the Pennsylvania Dutch. Fresh pork was the star of Christmas and New Year's meals for early settlers because of its timing with winter hog butchering, and sauerkraut was served as a side dish because winter was also cabbage harvesting season. New Year's pretzel. German Americans who aren't eating pork and sauerkraut on January 1st are probably enjoying a special New Year's pretzel instead. The German good luck symbol, which some say dates back to the early 20th century in Sandusky, Ohio, is more sweet than savory. topped with a glaze rather than salt and often served at breakfast or brunch. Pittsburgh Magazine says the pretzel, which can also be punctuated with nuts and candied fruit, is said to bring good luck for the coming year.
I'm not going to go too deep into the average amount of said foods consumed every New Year's Eve or day because it doesn't matter. It's just going to be useless and pointless information. They all vary a lot and is not entirely set in stone. Back to the Wikipedia article I cited earlier. Let's start with festivities, more specifically, the final ones before the ball drop. We'll start with 1999 to 2000 and end at 29 to 2010 for this episode and continue throughout the series. 1999 to 2000, Marianne Hopkins from Doctors Without Borders. 2000 to 2001, Muhammad Ali. 2001 to 2, Rudy Giuliani and Judith Giuliani. This was Giuliani's final act as mayor. Michael Bloomberg officially became the new mayor of New York City upon the beginning of 2002 and took his oath of office shortly after midnight. 2002 to 3, Christopher Reeve and Dana Reeve. 2003 to 4, Cyndi Lauper joined by Shoshana Johnson, the first black female prisoner of war in the military history of the United States. 2004 to 5, United States Secretary of State Colin Powell. 2005 to 6, Wynton Marsalis. 2006 to 7, a group of 10 United States Armed Forces members. 2007 to 8, Carolina Wierchowska, an Iraq War veteran and New York City Police Academy valedictorian. 2008 to 9, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. And for this episode, 2009 to 10, 12 students from New York City high schools on the gold medal list of the U.S. News and World Report's America's Best High Schools, and continues with this. The conclusion of the drop is followed by fireworks shot from the roof of One Times Square along with the playing of the first verse of Auld Lang Syne by Guy Lombardo, theme from New York, New York by Frank Sinatra, America the Beautiful by Ray Charles, What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong, and Somewhere Over the Rainbow / What a Wonderful World by Israel
Kamakawiwo'ole.
Since the 2005-6 edition of the event, the drop has been directly preceded by the playing of John Lennon's song Imagine at 11:55 until 2009-10. The original recording was used since 2010 to 11. The song has been performed by the headlining artist. We'll get to that in the next episode. According to an article on a blog website, KathleenOlivieri.com, called New Year's Resolutions, an alternative, published on December 6th, 2020 by, you guessed it, Kathleen Olivieri. I'm also trying to find the most cited resolution for each year, but it's completely useless and pointless as well. And that's not the point of this entire series, now is it? So let's recap. Number 1, at least 3,000 pounds of confetti is used in Times Square every single year. Number 2, tons of trash is cleaned up off the streets of Times Square and other places they celebrate New Year's Eve all around the world. 3, we've learned the festivities that occur right before the ball drop every single year, and each headlining artist from the years mentioned. Number 4, we've learned what happens after the ball has fully dropped every single year. Number 5, New Year's resolutions are completely pointless and useless because we abandon them anyway for any reason. And finally, number 6, I've been your delightful host, Brian Mullins the Fox, signing out. See you in the next episode. Bye. New Year's Eve, Numbers by the Year, the 3-episode series analyzing traditions, customs, and statistics 1 year at a time. Hello everybody, I am your delightful host, Brian Mullins the Fox, and welcome to episode 2 of New Year's Eve, Numbers by the Year, 2000 to 2022. Let's start with fireworks statistics. Firstly, fireworks consumer index from 1999 to 2019, according to the American Pyrotechnics Association. Let's start off with display fireworks revenue and continue with consumer fireworks revenue. All of these numbers for each year are in hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion or so. Display fireworks revenue, 1999, 167 million, 2000, 203 million, 2001, 217 million, 2002, 242 million, 2003, 258 million, 2004, 272 million, 2005, 293 million, 2006, 300 million, 2007, 310 million, 2008, 313 million, 2009, 315 million, 2010, 316 million, 2011, 318 million, 2012, 320 million, 2013, 328 million, 2014, 332 million, 2015, 340 million, 2016, 345 million, 2017, 353 million, 2018, 360 million, and for 2019,
375 million.
Consumer fireworks revenue, 333 million for 1999, 2000, 407 million, 2001, 433 million, 2002, 483 million, 2003, 517 million, 2004, 543 million, 2005, 587 million, 2006, 600 million, 2007, 620 million, 2008, 627 million, 2009, 630 million, 2010, 636 million, 2011, 649 million, 2012, 645 million, 2013, 662 million, 2014, 695 million, 2015, 755 million, 2016, 825 million, 2017, 885 million, 2018, 945 million, and for 2019, 1 billion. Continuing for 2020, the number for 2021 and 2022 are not complete yet or not available yet, and even if they are for 2021 and 22, it wouldn't matter all that much. Here it is for 2020. 401 million pounds of them consumed. Now let's move on to firework-related injuries from 2005 to 2021. 2005, 10,800. 2006, 9,200. 2007, 9,800. 2008, 7,000. 2009, 8,800. For 2010, 8,600. For 2011, 9,600. For 2012, 8,700. For 2013, 11,400. 2014, 10,500. For 2015, 11,900. 2016, 11,100. 2017, 12,900. 2018, 9,100. 2019, 10,000. 2020, 15,600. And for 2021, 11,500 of them. Now let's get back to headlining artists. There are other performances, including those for every single New Year's Rockin' Eve special and other television specials. Even during the time when Dick Clark was still around, you can't bring up New Year's Eve history quite as well without mentioning Dick Clark, can you? I'm not including all the other performances because there would be too many to count and mention for one video. 2010 to 11, Taio Cruz. 2011 to 12, CeeLo Green. 2012 to 13, Train. 2013 to 14, Melissa Etheridge. 2014 to 15, OAR. 2015 to 16, Jesse. 2016 to 17, Rachel Platten. 2017 to 18, Andy Grammer. 2018 to 19, Bebe Rexha. And for 2019 to 20, ex-ambassadors. Now let's move on to other performers and guests. These guests are selected annually to recognize their community involvement or significance and have included all I've mentioned last episode, this one and the next, starting with 2010 to 11 and ending with 2019 to 20. 2010 to 11, former Staff Sergeant Salvatore Giunta. 2011 to 12, Lady Gaga. 2012 to 13, The Rockettes. 2013 to 14, Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, Sonia Sotomayor. 2014 to 15,
Jan Carlos
Canela, joined by a group of refugees who emigrated to New York City in partnership with the International Rescue Committee. 2015 to 16, humanitarian Hugh Evans. 2016 to 17, United Nations Security General Ban Ki-moon. This was Ban's final act as United Nations Secretary General as Antonio Guterres took office on on January 1st, 2017. 2017-18, Tarana Burke, civil rights activist and founder of the hashtag MeToo movement. 2018-19, Joel Simon, executive director of the Committee to Protect Journalists, and a group of 11 journalists, Ataya, Rebecca Blumenstein, Allison Camarota, Vladimir Duthiers, Edward Felsenthal, Lester Holt, Matt Murray, Martha Raddatz, Maria Ressa, John Scott, and Karen Tulin. And 2019-20, New York City high school teachers Jared Fox and Ada Rosenbaum, recipients of the 11th annual Sloan Awards for Excellence in Teaching Science and Mathematics, and 4 of their students. Festivities formally begin in the early evening with an opening ceremony featuring the raising of the ball at 6 p.m., along with the playing of Fanfare for the Common Man by the New York Philharmonic. Party favors are distributed to attendees, which have historically included large balloons, hats, and other items branded with the event's corporate sponsors. The lead up to midnight features a program of entertainment, including musical performances. Some of these performances are organized by and aired by New Year's Eve television specials broadcasting from Times Square. So now let's recap. Number 1, we've learned how much money is spent on fireworks overall for each year in the United States from 1999 to 2020. 2, we've learned the overall amount of estimated firework-related injuries from 2005 to 2021. Number 3, we've learned the headlining artists for each year. 4, we've learned all the other performers, including the reason why I don't mention all the performances/performers every single New Year's celebration live at Times Square. And finally, number 5, I've been your delightful host, Brian Mullins the Fox, signing out. Tune in next time where we finish off this series, but without the unnecessary montage because it's too short. And plus, I let text-to-speech bot David fill in for me next episode. Bye. New Year's Eve, Numbers by the Year, the 3-episode series analyzing traditions, customs, and statistics 1 year at a time.
Hello, I am text-to-speech bot Matthew, filling in for Brian Mullins the Fox. Let's start the series finale by finishing what he started here. Let's go back to that Wikipedia page known as Times Square Ball and read off the remaining highlighting artists and other highlighted guests. 2020-21, Chirlane McCray, wife of Mayor Bill de Blasio. 2021-22, Michael James Scott, Mary Claire King, and Ben Crawford. The guests did not press the button with the mayor. The event was de Blasio's final act as mayor of New York City. Mayor-elect Eric Adams took his oath of office shortly after midnight. Highlighting artists. 2020-21, Andra Day. 2021-22, Katie Tunstall. For 2023 and onward, they are yet to be announced. Before the series ends, I will compile all the recaps, so Brian won't have to. I'm text-to-speech bot Matthew, filling in for Brian Mullins the Fox, signing off.
So let's recap. Number 1, at least 3,000 pounds of confetti is used in Times Square every single year. Number 2, tons of trash is cleaned up off the streets of Times Square and other places they celebrate New Year's Eve all around the world. 3, we've learned the festivities that occur right before the ball drop every single year and each headlining artist from the years mentioned. Number 4, we've learned what happens after the ball has fully dropped every single year. Number 5, New Year's resolutions are completely pointless and useless because we abandon them anyway for any reason. So now let's recap. Number 1, we've learned how much money is spent on fireworks overall for each year in the United States from 1999 to 2020. 2, we've learned the overall amount of estimated firework-related injuries from 2005 to 2021. Number 3, we've learned the headlining artists for each year. 4, we've learned all the other performers, including the reason why I don't mention all the performances/performers every single New Year's celebration live at Times Square. And finally, number 5, I've been your delightful host, Brian Mullins the Fox, signing out. Bye.